Naming formulae for Cambridge IGCSE Chemistry. So Cambridge IGCSE requires you to name elements and compounds, so I'll go through those separately, and then there is a review exercise which I would recommend that you complete. So there are over 100 known elements, and they are listed in the periodic table, which I assume you are familiar with. We've got hydrogen, sodium, sulfur, argon as examples. Each element or each type of atom is given a unique symbol. So capital H, Na for sodium, S for sulfur, capital A, lowercase r for argon. Each symbol starts with a capital letter. If there is a second letter, it is in the lower case. If you are not fully familiar with element symbols, complete this exercise. If you are, you can skip ahead. Refer to a copy of the periodic table and complete this table. So stop the class, complete the table. Either the element symbol is missing or the element name. Restart when you are ready to check your answers. Okay, so I'm going to restart. Hydrogen, capital H, Na, on the previous slide, sodium. Potassium, careful, capital K. Magnesium, 2 letters, capital M, lowercase g. Carbon, 1 letter, capital C. Chlorine, 2 letters, capital C, lowercase l. Fe, iron. So element structures include individual atoms, molecules, and giant lattices. However, the name of the element does not reflect formula or structure. So, for example, argon, elemental atoms, sulfur, a molecule of 8 sulfur atoms, hydrogen, a molecule of 2 hydrogen atoms, just called sulfur, hydrogen, and argon. Sodium, a giant metallic structure with a regular arrangement of an infinite number of sodium atoms, just called sodium. The exception being, as you will see in later classes, carbon allotropes, that is, forms of solid carbon. Naming compound formulae. Compound names follow some simple patterns. Let's look at binary compounds, that is, combinations of 2 elements. For instance, sodium and chlorine. Well, for the name, we list the elements left to right as they are in the periodic table, relative positions in the periodic table. Sodium is to the left of chlorine, so it will come first. Chlorine will be the second named element. But to indicate that it's bonded to sodium, we change the ending from "-ine" to "-ide". So the name is sodium chloride. Now there are a couple of exceptions in the syllabus that you need to know about. NH3 is ammonia, H2O, commonly known as water, obviously, and then organic molecules, hydrocarbons such as CH4 have their own naming system. CH4 is methane, and you'll meet these substances in future classes. So a relatively simple exercise. You've got 2 element combinations, come up with the compound name. Stop the class, restart when you have completed those names. Okay, so I'm going to reveal the names. Calcium chloride, magnesium and oxygen, magnesium oxide. Second element changes to ide. Silver and sulfur. Commonly a cause of error here. It's not sulfate. We'll come to naming of sulfates later on. It's silver sulfide. sulfur becomes sulfide, just a binary combination of silver and sulfur. Sodium iodide and tin bromide. So a slight variation. Rather than giving you the combining elements, I'll give you a formula. So a compound formula. Can you come up with the compound name? So identify the elements from the formula and then come up with a compound name. Stop the class. Restart when you have completed the exercise. Okay, so I'm going to reveal magnesium nitride. Magnesium and nitrogen. The second element is nitrogen, becomes nitride. Calcium sulfide, we talked about on the previous slide. Lithium chloride, sodium oxide. There's no information about numbers in the name. Potassium bromide. However, in binary combinations of non-metals, the number of atoms of an element in the formula may be indicated in the name. So you will have no doubt met CO2, carbon dioxide. So we've got 2 oxygens to 1 carbon, so carbon dioxide. You may have come across carbon monoxide, 1 carbon and 1 oxygen, carbon monoxide. Using these as a model, can you name SO2, SO3, NO and NO2? Stop the class, come up with those 4 names, come back to check them when you are ready. Okay, so I'm going to reveal sulfur dioxide, follows the pattern of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide. Sulfur trioxide is 3 oxygens to 1 sulfur, sulfur trioxide. Nitrogen monoxide, nitrogen dioxide. So again, in combinations of non-metals, the number of atoms in the element formula may be indicated in the name, and you will be expected to be fluent with these names and molecular formulae. Sometimes a group of atoms will go through a series of chemical reactions intact, that is, they'll stick together as a group. These common groups of atoms have picked up chemical names over the years. So we have a group made up of an oxygen and a hydrogen. That group name is hydroxide. So where an OH group appears in a compound, it will be something hydroxide. SO4, that's the sulfate group that I mentioned earlier in the class. So 1 sulfur and 4 oxygens sticks together as a group known as sulfate. NO3, 1 nitrogen, 3 oxygens, known as nitrate. CO3, known as carbonate. And NH4, 1 nitrogen and 4 hydrogens, known as ammonium. You are expected to recognize and use the names of these common chemical groups. So let's name some compound formulae that contain these groups. The group names are retained in these compounds. So NaOH, I recognize the OH group as hydroxide, so sodium hydroxide. CuSO4, I recognize the sulfate group, so copper sulfate. KNO3, I recognize NO3 as nitrate, potassium nitrate. Calcium and CO3, calcium carbonate. CO3 is the carbonate group, calcium carbonate. NH4 is the ammonium group, ammonium chloride. You are expected to recognize and use these group names in naming compounds. So here is a short review exercise. All of these compounds or elements can be found in the IGCSE syllabus. Got a list on the left. Can you come up with the formula name on the right? Stop the class, restart when you're ready. Okay, so P4, simply named as the element phosphorus. The numbers of atoms in the molecule is not included in the name. CuOH twice, that's copper hydroxide. We've got OH hydroxide, copper hydroxide. Magnesium oxide, carbon dioxide, two non-metals, so we can use the dioxide naming. Ammonia, anomalous. You must recognize NH3 as ammonia. NH4 is ammonium. NO3 is nitrate, so ammonium nitrate. Potassium iodide, zinc carbonate, barium sulfate. So just to be clear, names involving oxidation number are required in the syllabus and are explained in later classes, as is the naming of organic molecules. If you found this class useful, please recommend it to a friend. Please like, subscribe for updates on new classes and exam tips. More chemistry classes can be found via the playlist link given in the video description. Thank you.